Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's none other than your boy, the Road Dog, with the man, the myth, the fat biking legend. Fat biking? I don't even know where I'm going with that. Fat tire bike legend, Karl Bryan, coming at you straight from the beach, of course, because, you know, he lives in that ding right there, dude. There is the scorpion image being popped in. For those that were not on the pre-show, now you know. Karl, welcome to the show.
That's it. Shoots. What's going on, bud? I've been riding my mountain bike along the beach as I do every day, and I've been turning my camera on. I got a few episodes in the can, and there you go. YouTube, look out.
If you are not involved in the pre-show, you don't even know what you're missing, because I'm looking at an image right now, and I am scared for my life.
Yeah,
what is going on there? Hey, listen, what's confusing to me, besides what you just sent me, I'm like looking at business coaching beach ride. That is interesting. Like, could you make it any longer? Hey, speaking of long, 30 minutes, like for real? Like, what's going on? And I see you already have 2 episodes.
Shoot.
I think this whole new adventure of yours, one of those double bikes, me and you, I'm just saying.
Buddy, we got to do it. There we go, Shoots. Oh my God.
You could do like, you know, like carpool karaoke, or where they've got, who was it? Like, was it Leno or, Seinfeld, where he takes people in cars or whatever the heck it is. Yeah. You imagine you had the double bike and whoever you interview has to ride in the back.
Shoots, you might be. Look, this is why we started, right? We little bit of idea sex, as I refer to it, and look out. We could, who knows what we're going to come up with?
That's right there. You're welcome. Home run. You can take that, but you know what? I'm really glad that it was mentioned here first, and everyone will always know it was my idea. Right. So there you go.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure if everybody's seen it. So Karl he started producing YouTube videos because the man with a face for radio decided it was time to not be on radio anymore. But yeah, so Rabbit Hole Central, that's for sure. But anybody listening to this podcast, they're not going to be surprised, right? Like. But you know, what's like, so just talk to me about the first, you know, I guess you've got 2 episodes out, shockingly. What's some good advice that you dropped, besides, speaking of dropping, I know you dropped your phone a few times into the ocean, but aside from that dropping, what else, what kind of nuggets did you drop on the podcast, or the show, I should say?
And everybody who watches, episode 3, you're going to see me drop my phone into the ocean, and then I pick it up, and remarkably, the thing's still going, and you'll literally see me screaming a word that rhymes with truck. This is what Road Dog just gave me. I'm like, that's good. That's how I'll use from now on. And then I just kept going, and I'm like, so that happened. But anyways, yes, you will see that, but all good. What am I? I think it's probably stuff that we've talked on here. We're going to continue. Again, the podcast will continue in current form. This is an addition because I'm looking for something to do. But, you know, like percentages as a wealth hack is something I think I put in the first couple there. Talked about that a lot here, but I do believe that it's important. You know, 2 to 3 is 50%, not 1%. 20 to 30 is 50%, not 1%. 2 to 4 is 100%, not 2%. And then the other thing, like, don't measure. What did I say? Like, you could, like, okay, you got a 2% conversion, and then you increase it to 3% by changing the headline, creating a red arrow, a different whatever it is, right? But then you got to make sure that you follow the trail to cash, right? Because you could go from 2 to 4%, double your conversions, put significantly more, like, you know what I mean, appointments on your calendar, and then find that you actually decreased your conversion and decreased the number of, the amount of cash. And then something else that I talked about, but it's like, it's retention. It's not just to cash as in first payment, but what about retention? Like, so example, if you were, I didn't do this, but like, we'll just do that here. Like, you go to a networking group, okay, and there's the realtor, the mortgage broker, the insurance guy, the financial planner, the landscaper, and butcher maker, candlestick maker, right?
There
Boom.
we go. I didn't want you to explain this, guys.
that candlestick maker, busy lad with us, shoots. But here, so you go to the networking function, you get a lot of appointments, you get a lot of, like you're doing assessments or whatever you want to call them in our world. It's a profit acceleration assessment. You get a few coaching clients, but when you extrapolate those numbers out, like the retention, if you get 3 clients and they all quit in month 2 versus, let's say that you did something different, like you did a live event, and let's assume that took a little longer to get together. It was a little bit more effort. You had to outlay some cash because you had to create some workbooks and book the room. Hopefully, you fed the folks in our room if you follow our model. But if you got one client that, saw through to 12 months, and let's assume you're $2,000 a month, that's 24 grand, significantly less dopamine. It's not like the Facebook post where you get, you know, likes and comments and shares and like, oh, it's so exciting. It's kind of the opposite. But when you look at your math at the end of 12 months, what happened? And what I'm getting at there, I want you to make sure you got to follow the trail all the way. And I don't think people are doing that. So that's part of so that would, like, start of this percentages where you go from 2 to 3%. And do you think you're doing really good because you got a 50% improvement? But the wisdom, the person that's been around the block, been there, done that, got the postcard, knows that there's a little bit of dopamine involved in that. Hang on a minute, let's make sure that we're following this all the way through to retention. But then, actually, what I said in video was that if you were to keep a client for 12 months, that's amazing. The problem is that's 12 months of data, and you don't know in month 3. The guy, you could have wobbly legs with this client at 3 months and assume that he's going to, be one of the guys or the gals that cancels. And you didn't realize that you were just going to have one of those. I've often found that my best coaching clients back in the day were folks that I had what I'll call an uncomfortable conversation with early, right? So, yeah, just had a, you know what I mean? Like, like, they're thinking of canceling, they're asking for some money back, or normally wouldn't get to that extreme level, but you get the idea where it's like, hang on a minute, we got to really have a good hard look at this. A lot of the time, those are the clients that stuck around for multiple years because you were able just to lay some things on the table. Effectively, some rules would often come out of a conversation like that. Like, whoa, it's not my job to come in and answer the phone and to sell the product and handle the customer support issues, but it is my job to provide you, the vision of the entire forest as opposed to the tree, and guide you. So anyway, so that was dropped. I had a comment like, just a 7-figure, like, could you build a 7-figure coaching company? And what I said is absolutely. Do I think you will? And the answer is probably not. The good news on the back of that is that you don't really need to build a 7-figure coaching company to do ridiculously well. Because again, part of the reason why we do this is 70 to 80% margins. You get 20 clients at $2,000 a month. That's 480 grand a year. You got 70 to 80% margins. It's a pretty good lifestyle, right? If you half that, you're at 240, and if you half that, you're at 120 with massive margins. So, so you've got that, but then you got to look at the 3 baskets where you've got lead generation, and then you've got conversion of the client. So lead generation takes what I'd say the grunt work. It's kind of science. And then the conversion, I'd refer to that more of art, right? Can I get, getting that conversion for $2,000 a month, 24 grand a year, or maybe it's 3 grand a month, 36 grand a year, 4 grand a month, 48 grand a year, 5 grand a month, 60 grand a year. So that's conversion. We'll assume that's, there's a bit of artistry to, closing that deal and handling the objections and just, being a good salesperson, basically. But the third basket, by 100 miles, if you want to build a 7-figure coaching company, most people instinctively will be thinking lead, lead, leads, leads, leads. And I'm telling you, lead generation is, like I said, it's just pretty straightforward stuff. Like it's not rocket science, and it seems to be handled that way with trepidation. People are very nervous and cautious, or whatever you'd say around that. But the fulfillment, let me just tell you here and now where I'm getting and what I'm trying to say and what I mentioned in a different way that I'm saying it here, but foundationally the same. Fulfillment is what will stop you from building a 7-figure coaching company, right? Not the lead gen. That's the science. It's the fulfillment takes all the time. So lead gen takes, science. Conversion is art, but the fulfillment is time, and that's what you run out of, and that's what you can't manufacture. That's what you can't create. So there's that, and I think maybe, and again, I actually wrote an email about this a while ago, and I think again, Road Dog, I did a solo podcast here for the last week, and I talked about non-binary, but again, I've already that seems to be very popular. Where I mean, are you passionate? And it's not a binary thing. Like, are you passionate or are you not? It's what level of passion do you have? Are you able to influence your coaching client? Are you not able to influence your coaching client? It's not binary. It's at what level are you able to get your coaching client to actually bloody do something, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, do you believe in your abilities? It's not binary. It's like, at what level do you believe in your abilities, both short, medium, and long term, right? So anyways, that seems to be, I think people like that, Road Dog, that non-binary kind of thing. And so some jokes could be made about that, but I'm not going to make
I was
one
just
of
going to
those.
say, I didn't realize you waged into the gender war, but good for you. I'm proud of you, bud. And I'm really glad that I wasn't there for it. So there's that. I
Me
didn't
too.
realize that.
On our double bike, exactly, that would have gone horrifically. I know that.
Dude, that's happening. So where are you getting your content from for all this? Like, is this a regurgitation of the amazing stuff that we produce here, or where are you getting your talking points from?
Yeah, a bit of that. I'll just tell you, here's my strategy, and it's a loose one. I'll give you the red hot tip. But I write just three things before I leave, try to commit them to memory, right? So just take number one, and I think of Damian Holland. Shout out to him. He's my goalie many years ago. Actually, Damian Holland, good buddy of mine. He beat Patrick Waugh, which is pretty cool. Patrick Waugh, debatably the greatest goaltender of all time. But anyways, he was fighting to be the backup for the Chicago Blackhawks, and the first string goalie was Eddie Belfour, Hall of Famer. The backup goalie was Dominic Hasek, Hall of Famer, ended up being significantly better than Eddie Belfour, by the way. And then Damian Holland, Bussy, by the way, call him Bussy, but he was which he didn't make it, by the way. But anyways, great goalie. Had a hell of a time trying to score on him back in the day. So Bussy, why am I saying? So number one, I think of Bussy, and then say, it's percentage, like the thing that I want to talk about is percentages. I just think of Bussy, and I think of him as he's a bit of an analytical, an accountant type. So I think of him in a nerdy kind of way, right? One, number two, I think of somebody with the number two, and then number three, I think of somebody with number three, and then I take them, and then I associate it with that thing, and then I can normally remember 1, 2, and 3, which, by the way, has not proven to be overly successful because I've forgotten a couple of them, and it's half because I'm out of breath. Like I'm riding along the beach, and it's not the easiest thing to do on the without talking the entire time, which kind of knocks the wind out of you. But that's what I'm doing, shoots. I'm just three things, throwing them out there. One time, I forgot, and then I was riding by a massive hotel, right? I looked at the hotel, and I was like, that reminded me high unit of sale. So I started prattling on about, if you're gonna, a coaching client, I would go for a higher unit of sale versus a lower end unit of sale, which is something that I've talked about, that I believe in, that I think is important. And in the future, I might try to get more structured. I might not. I definitely not get there's 30 minutes. I kind of prattling on for 30 minutes. And again, in the first one, Road Dog, I'm kind of If Road Dog was here, I know what he'd be saying. He'd be saying, "Shoots, you're going down a rabbit hole, and I'm stopping you." And I'm jump. Well, he wouldn't. He would actually just jump right in, which he does. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing, Shoots. But I picture. I mean, YouTube videos, like 5 to 15 minutes is where they'll end up and where they kind of belong. But I'll get my style, Shoots. I'm committed to doing 100 of them.
100.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 100, and then I'll know what I'm doing. And I might not like it. I might decide that it's just too much. Whatever. I might, but I'm gonna do 100. So that's my commitment.
So, what's the frequency that you're doing of these right now? Is it weekly, or what's happening?
Well, good. What, Shoots? I'm getting some feedback, and the feedback, it's really, some people just love them. Some people are like, oh my gosh, like if you sent me this video every day, I would unsubscribe because I'm just not in. I like your written stuff. So the answer is, I don't know at this stage. I mean, the plan was to kind of do one a week for the first week and then go from there. I'm not sure, Shoots. I'm going to play it by ear.
With that in mind, let's actually go down this conversation just for a second, if you don't mind, because I think this is probably a big question for a lot of coaches in terms of content creation, right? So my input in terms of frequency is like, hey, Christian, how often should I be posting on social media or whatever, right? It's like, well, whatever you can commit to and actually stick to, I think would be a good one for sure.
Yep.
Then the other piece though, so are you trying to hit all the modalities, or what's the thought behind that?
No, I hear you. The plan is, my daily email, I've done, I don't know where I'm at, but approximately 700 of them, right? So I can't interrupt that. It goes very well. It's got a pretty huge following. Where if I don't send it out by a particular time, I've got emails in my inbox, or the team. But there's people asking for them, right? Like, where are they? So I'm not going to disrupt that. And again, the podcast, we've been doing this for literally years. We're going to continue to do this, but the YouTube channel, I'm not going to break it out and then turn it in at this stage. I'm not going to pull it out and then, create a podcast out of it. Although I might. That's just not what I see. It's YouTube. It's designed to be like, I just don't think it's going to come across the same. Listening to a bunch of waves and not realizing that I'm riding along the beach. I just don't know that it will have the same effect. Might, but that's my thought process. So what do you think?
Would you agree with my hypothesis, if you will, in terms of how often for frequency?
Yes, consistent. Your is a spot, like, what can I commit to? And that literally at this stage, what I can commit to is doing 100. But I'm not doing them. I'm not committing to doing it daily. Tori, who guides me and helps me out, she's like, look, let's do one a week and plunk it in on Wednesday. And I said, that's got value. But then I can do it so easily, Road Dog, right? Like I do this every day anyway. So it's just a matter of hitting the play button. So again, it's not like I need to promote
you ride your bike and
right?
talk to yourself. You ride your bike and talk to yourself every day. You might as well just record it. There it is, right? It's just pretty simple stuff, folks. Like, but no, it's interesting. So what's interesting to me though is how far you've come, and like, let's not inflate your head anymore, because just based on the cartoon image of you on that bike, it's big enough as is. But you were like, holy smokes, what did I get myself into with this daily email? Then stack on the podcast, then stack on the coaching calls that you do, 2-3 times a week for all of your coaches. Then stack on now a YouTube channel. Like, dude, like how are you pulling all this off? Like, where are you finding the time for all of this?
Yeah. Buddy, I'm not currently. My wife, that's why she's not speaking to me at the moment. And she sees the YouTube, like, oh my gosh, not something else. But no, it's again, look, what would I say to that? As I'm obsessed legitimately with what we do. I love this. And I hope I'm not, hopefully I'm channeling, I'm trying to, kind of come through everybody listening here, in that I really love this stuff. And when I like the podcast, who's learned more through the podcast than literally collectively? Like, you got millions and millions of minutes downloaded. We've got, I don't even know where we're at with downloads, but like, it's a large, it's a, heavy 6-figure number. um, I've learned more than everybody collectively. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the magic. When I write my daily emails, like in a lot of ways, I mean, it's me teaching myself, right? So the YouTube channel is not totally different. Like I again, like when I started the daily email, I mean, I was like, oh my God, Road Dog, like what have I got myself into? But again, what I did is I made the commitment to just not stop. You know what I mean? Like literally in the what do you call it, the YouTube dealio, one of the things I talked about is like what you refuse to give up on. And quite frankly, I was thinking a little bit about that. I remember my dad asking me about like, how long are you going to do these emails? Because I would read them every night. I don't do that still, but we still, I'll read a couple, a week. But again, because I'm busy and timing doesn't always work. He's like, how long are you going to do these things for? I said, Dad, forever. And he's like, oh my gosh, right? Like, but that was the commitment, right? Like I just, rather than, oh, well, as long as see the YouTube videos, Road Dog, I'm very intentionally not throwing that out there, right? Because again, I am busy. We got over 1,100 clients live right now, 49 countries with, you know what I mean? Yada, yada, yada. So for everybody listening, hopefully you also pick that up in that, like, what can you commit to? And how am I finding the time, Road Dog? I'm just, I'm already riding the beach. So I literally just got a little thing set up, a little, phone basket. I chuck my phone on, start talking, and it's a little bit better workout, but I'm learning a lot, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm going to continue to learn a lot through doing that. And that's what I think makes it kind of semi worth it. If that makes, I don't know.
Well, what's interesting? So it's story time here for me for just a quick second, because what's fascinating to me is how quickly you can gain knowledge these days, and even you are still picking up. Not like when you were like, I'm going to learn accounting, and I'm going to make it relevant to the business coaching community. Like it's not a small topic, right? But what comes to mind for me there is, look, we have so much available to us that we can become experts at whatever we choose to be in a fraction of the time that it learned those people for the exact same knowledge, right? So example is I just became the head coach of my daughter's soccer team, and we just had our
nice.
first tournament, and
Cool.
day one we were just pumping in the goals, dude. It was first game 15-3, then we won 7-0 and 5-0, and we ended up losing 4-0 to a very, very, very good team. I just think the girls were tired. It was the fourth game in the second day and whatever. Do I know everything there is to know tactically about soccer? The answer is no. But guess what? There's a million and one resources that I can go to, and based on what I'm seeing the weakness is, right? So I can go and be like, okay, the team needs this. I'm going to go study this, and I can become an expert pretty darn quick at what I need to learn enough, right? It's that whole being almost one step ahead. And I just find it fascinating because it's like you do the same thing where it's like, okay, well, I want to learn the accounting thing. Man, there's so many resources out there, and I'm appreciative of the fact that you share your knowledge after a couple of decades in the business coaching space. Now, I'm leading to a question here because it's fascinating, because people can listen to you, and at times, we go down rabbit holes. But the knowledge that you share is based off of a couple of decades. So it's like, it's sort of a shortcut, right? But my question to you is on that note, right? So a couple decades deep, what do you know now? Like looking back, obviously the amount of knowledge you've gained, and there's been a ton of change, like internet, everything else, got it, right? But what do you know today that you wish you knew? Even let's just go back a decade ago.
Yeah. By the way, Shoots, you're propping me up today. By the way, I'm not.
I don't get used to it. Like for real, this is very rare air that we're in here right now, folks. Just know this.
Maybe the YouTube channel. Maybe this is the YouTube effect, folks. That's it.
The YouTube. There it is. Instant. Right there. It's like, oh my God, he's a big deal now. Like he's putting his nose onto the internet. You can't take that off of there, bud. Just so you know. There it is. Anyways,
no, I am not a big deal, but that's okay. Look, and I actually Road Dog on a high five, because I agree. That's the presentation that I ran last year at Business Coaching Mastery. If I start with like 4 hours, and that's I kind of I think I called it what I wish they would have taught me in business coaching school. Something like, kind of a play on what they didn't teach. I wish they taught us at Harvard or something to that effect. Um, look, accounting being the language of business. I was a sales and marketing guy. Just accepting that accounting and not, the story, oh, I'm not a numbers guy, right? Like, it's just ridiculous. You don't need to be a numbers guy or gal to really understand it. You don't need to, I'm not an accountant and I don't pretend to be one. I am not an accountant, right? But I can tell you that I've had, Dougie Hoffman as an example, who's been a client of ours for about 11, 12 years, 40 plus year accountant, got a New York office with 30 accountants. I mean, he has said, wow, like, you really understand accounting, but not again in like, debits, credits kind of way, but in a look, when I look at a financial statement, these are the things I'm looking for. These are the reasons why I'm looking for them. Here are the landmines. Anyway, so that's one. And again, we have a 4-day, which you guys could get access to. 4-day how to read financial statements and find your high-end coaching fees before getting started. So that's what we ran. It was very good. We ran it. And by the way, Dougie was there to run it with us. So Road Dog, that mental models for sure. Let's just say slow down to speed up. Or mental model is the ability to have conflicting thoughts on any one topic, right? Like she had a conversation with a buddy and it went down politics, and I won't go into, the names of the people involved in, the politicians. Might be painfully obvious, but it was just one of those things. And the other person, he's just so emotional. And I'm just like, you can't, like, what would Warren Buffett say? The more amped up you are, the less thoughtful you are, right? So again, somebody that's just too fired up about a specific politician is just not able to be objective. And then you've got to be able to have conflicting views. So like you could be anti-vax, but or pro-vax. Sorry, you could be pro-vax. I'm trying to think of conflicting view here. Like you could be pro-vax, as in the vaccination, COVID. You didn't know what I was thinking about. And then you could be anti passport, right? Vaccination passport. In other words, pro-vax, but should you have to have the vax to be able to travel? You know what I mean? Like that's an example. It would take somebody, slowing down the speed up or kind of using a mental model and look, two different viewpoints on effectively the same topic. That's the way I view mental models, and just slowing down to speed up. And again, if you want to know, like, just if you like that, if that sounds like something, and you'll know instinctively if mental models is somewhere you should go, something that you should be studying at a higher level. Have a look. Charlie Munger is kind of like the OG of mental models. And if you just Google Charlie Munger, who, if you don't know who that is, that's Warren Buffett's business partner. Very, again, and Warren Buffett will tell you that, he's, and if not smarter than him, but the two of them are flat out geniuses, and not just in the business world. He's got some unbelievable content on mental models. That's what I'm trying to say. So you could check that out. Another thing, I'd say problems over ideas. Carl, would this idea work? Road Dog, is this idea, think this is a profitable idea? Don't change your spidey senses to look for problems. I literally had this conversation internally with our guys today, a meeting with the team. And I'm like, yep. So no, we're going, that's a good idea. Tell me, if you want to know what I think we should build, show me the biggest problem and then ask the question, can we solve it? How do we solve it? Build that. Right. So think about what that might mean for your friends thinking about business, your coaching clients, starting businesses, complementary products, complementary services, expanding growth. And again, remember, actually, a guy on the weekend, heavyweight. When I say heavyweight, I mean heavyweight. This guy's boat could put half a Kelowna in it. But anyways, he said to me, I read something recently, and he was like, wow, or actually not recently, it was something that came to him. And he said, growth is optional. And then he expanded a little bit without going into it. Hopefully that's self-explanatory for a coach. Growth is not always good, right? Um, what is, like trying to build this massive company so you could build like a massive nest egg, like build a massive company so you could have a massive bank account is just not the way it works. That's, again, a lot of companies fall over from growth more than lack of growth. And an example of that is, again, show me a $10 million company and I'll show you an HR company. Okay. That's, and I actually, 25 million is what I used to say, but I've come to the for very tangible reasons, which you might be able to read. But anyway, so a $10 million company, you become an HR company. So thinking about that. And then just maybe the other one, Road Dog, something again over the last decade that I feel like has had a dramatic effect. Actually, two things: network effects, talked about that a lot, and then compounding. Just again, so here, I think I said this in a video, but like Road Dog, you take a penny and you double it for 31 days. On day 31, it's amazing, right? But the problem, that's and 10 million bucks, right? Day 31, 5 million on day 30, 2.5 day 29, 1.25 day 28. Doesn't It's day 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 for a long time, right? And it's boring. There's no dopamine hit. It's like, Monopoly. I pretty good at Monopoly. Don't want to say that I'm like, whatever. I'm good at Monopoly. The reason I understand the strategy, if you play Monopoly correctly, you buy everything. Okay. Halfway through the game, you feel like you're losing. You got to mortgage your properties. You got to borrow money from the bank. You got to borrow money from other players. Right. But when it's all said and done, everybody else will be in bed and you will still be playing. It's a bit like day 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 when you're playing Monopoly. And by the way, and this is something I said in one of my videos. I don't, YouTube, maybe it's taking over my life, Road Dog. But anyways, I did say this though, like, but if I play you at Monopoly, everybody wants to own what when you play Monopoly? And I bet what you've just said to yourself is the blue properties at the end, Boardwalk and Park Place. And why? Because I think they probably have pretty cool names. They are worth the most. And if you land on them and there's a hotel, you're almost screwed. Okay. You ever noticed how little of an effect Boardwalk and Park Place have on the average game of Monopoly? And as I say that, you're probably nodding your head going, you know what? That's absolutely true. Okay. If I play you in Monopoly, there's 3 properties I want to own. And then there are ones right before free parking. And the reason is that there's multiple ways to go straight to jail. There's different cards, there's a space on the board, etc. So you spend an enormous amount of time where? In jail. Well, how many dice do you use when you play Monopoly? 2. And what is the most popular number? If if you roll the dice over and over 100 times, number 7 by far number 7 has the highest probability, right? Because there's multiple ways to hit 7, like 6 and 1 and 4 and 3, etc., 5 and 2. So 7 is the most popular. So where you're going to land is on those properties are the ones that get landed on the most. So if you get a hotel on those 3 properties, those are the ones that bankrupt everybody. Because again, go straight to go. That's the other one. Go straight to go. If you go straight to go, you just went by Boardwalk and Park Place, right? So anyways, kind of playing with a bit of a like strategy. Why did I say that?
No, I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out here. I have no idea. Like, folks, here's the deal. If you want to win, invite Carl over for poker. If you want to lose, apparently it's Monopoly. This is a side of you I've never seen before, and like unbelievable. You're pulling out stats on numbers of rolls and Monopoly strategist and guru.
You want to know what's funny? So my daughter's 9, and if you have a 9, if you have a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old, you probably know what an LOL doll is. So my daughter has LOL Monopoly. So anyway, so we play, and it's like all these funny, it's not Boardwalk and Park Place. I'll give you the red hot tip. It's all about these little things. But I'm teaching her, right? And I'm like, and she got, oh gosh, she lands on. You want to own the utilities, also, by the way. That's a good one. Good. You want to own. When you land on a utility, or you land on anything, you buy it. That's the rule. But if you land on the utilities, which some people will forego them, and that is an error. You should be buying. But anyway, so I'm teaching her, and she's always buying everything up, and she's laughing, and she owns all these properties. And again, she's out of money, but she's 9, so she doesn't care, right? Because she doesn't quite understand what's going on. But she just like flipping her cards around, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And I'm like, you're out of cash. And she goes, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to borrow it. And I just laugh. So anyway, so I've been playing a little bit of LOL Monopoly, folks. So anyways,
Okay,
I
so
can't remember how. I don't know.
I don't know how you got there, but I will say this to you. I will allow the Monopoly talk, but if you start going down a Dungeons and Dragons route, we're done.
No,
Like
that's not happening.
there's only so far we can take this. Hey, listen, to close the loop for you before you go to figure out why you went there and go down another rabbit hole. You talked about the 4-day reading statements thing. Where do you go for that? Do you have something set up for that, or do you want me to set something up for it?
Actually, okay, so you have to be a client. So the clients, clients, they just need to email us. So yeah, good point, Shoots. But this is for clients only. We keep it a little bit in house. Maybe one day we'll make it public, some way, shape, or form. But right now, you got to be a client to get access to it. So.
Boy, if I was Karl Bryan, I'd sure be offering that for a $97 product and a great little squeeze page. But hey, that's just me. There you go, Shoots. Listen, we're getting near the end. There's 2 questions I have for you because there's 2 names we haven't talked about for a while. Okay. The first, and the second one is Bezos. What? What's that?
What's who? That? Oh, I thought Brady. What did you? What was the first name?
I'm going to Brady. Of course, I'm going there. Number 2 is Bezos, but number 1 is the boyfriend, the number 1 man in your heart. And I'm just wondering, obviously, big win, season opener for your boyfriend yesterday, Tom Brady. I heard rumblings, and of course, I don't hear this, but my wife, people.com, whatever. Giselle was not at the game. Is everything okay? Like, I don't know what's going on. Giselle was not at the game. In your morning text to if he ever responds to you, I know you text Tom Brady every day.
Yeah, right.
Any updates? Like, is Giselle okay, or what's going on?
Shoots. I think there's some trouble on the home front.
Okay. Well, there you go.
My dad has a way of saying that is really funny, and I'm trying to think of what it is, but it's not coming to me. So that's okay. Maybe next time. But yeah, that's poor old Tom Brady. You know what? God bless him truly, man. I hope. That's not. I don't know what's going on, but it doesn't look good. Like it doesn't look like a lot of fun.
You heard it here first, and then as soon as Karl figures out who he's going to be dating next, he will let you know for sure. And he is hoping it's him. All right. On a second note, Bezos, your other boyfriend. You talk about Bezos a lot, and obviously there's a lot to respect with Bezos. Just let me back that up, right? Like when you take a look at Amazon and Bezos, what are some of the key lessons that I guess you've taken from, and are there any new ones as of lately that you've taken from both Amazon and him individually?
Good question. You're right. We haven't spoken about the boy, Mr. Bezos. So look, his letters to shareholders is a must read. Actually, I read the book too. I believe it's called Amazon, the Everything Store. That's it. Very good. But his letters to shareholders, it's been unbelievable. He's been like almost, unwavering since day one on the long-term vision, despite lots and lots and lots of setbacks, like Amazon.scam and everything else. He has broken, like, again, if we talk gross profit margin and everything else being so important. Again, he went for something much more important. It's market share and long-term cash flow. But look, thinking long terms in a 10-year block. And I know for the business coach, I always say, a business coach, like if you become a client of ours in the opening video, I kind of mentioned this, but I'm like, who does well, who doesn't? I'll tell you who doesn't do well. It's somebody here who's an experiment going day to day, week to week, month to month, and deciding whether or not it works, right? Like if you want us to be wrong, you're going to be right, that kind of thing. So if 10 years might be a little too much for you, but remember, you're going to be remembered in life for what you refuse to give up on, right? So You're not going to be remembered for what you started or what you're passionate about, and certainly how much money you made, but what you refuse to give up on. So if business coaching is really what you're supposed to be doing and you feel it in your bones and you're the person that coaches everybody and just never started charging for it, and you think, oh my God, that would be my dream. If I could just, if I could coach and then get paid for it. But, it's one thing to say you're passionate about it, but, are you willing to pick up the phone and cold call? And again, the person who won't pick up the phone and cold call, that doesn't mean that cold calling is mandatory to get it going, but it's the fact that you won't cold call dictates that you're still in your head. It's about you. And it's not about you. It needs to be about, if you're really going to succeed at business coaching, it needs to be about them, right? It's like if you're the coach of a hockey team and you want to be successful, the coach of a football team, it's about them. It's not about you. It's about ultimately wins and losses, and the way that you do that is by putting the right players in the right positions, and putting them in a position to win, right? You got to put them in a position to win. I'll tell you how you don't put a coaching client in a position to win is by having them not sign up with you. So anyway, so just you always do more for others than you do for yourself, right? It's 6 a.m. and you want to go for a jog, you roll over and hit the snooze button, but it's 6 a.m. and the kid's got to be at gymnastics or swimming or baseball or football or whatever. You're up and boom, the kids are there 5 minutes early, right? So those things, I just look, the needle movers are selection, price, and delivery. That's, at the end of the day, okay, I said it earlier, what's the biggest problem our clients are having? Look, can we solve it? And if we can, let's go solve that. That's what our software ultimately needs to do. And then the accuracy of the delivery. There's a little thing like last mile delivery. Like you talk about a problem being solved. I mean, there's billions of dollars being sold or spent, solving that 3-word problem, last mile delivery. Like everything, if you're sitting in a house right now or an office, everything in your office, everything in your home was delivered in a truck. Right. And then my question is, when they said they were bringing the truck, did they say it's going to be delivered between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m.? Well, think about last mile delivery dictates that they're going to be able to deliver it. Say Road Dog, the couch, congrats on the new couch. It will be there between 8 and 8:30. Do you think that's a little bit more convenient than a 12-hour window instead of a 12-minute window? That's what last mile delivery is trying to solve. And then, Bezos is working on things like drone delivery and that sort of thing. That's where it all comes from. So accuracy, so not just delivery, but then if you extrapolate that out and go to like the root problem in delivery, it would be accuracy of delivery. And that's last mile delivery. So forget Bezos, your coaching client. How do they get there? What's the number one problem their clients are experiencing? Can you solve it? And then work to solve that, and then put a price tag on it. And then ultimately, create a way to be able to kind of mass produce it is not quite the word that you know what I mean, but sell it in a lot, like sell it once and get it right. And then so you can sell it 10, 100 times. I read a quote over the weekend, Road Dog, and it was like, what was it? You have to be able to convince one person in your favor in order to be able to convince the masses in your favor. And again, I'm making a horrific meal of that. It was nothing like that, but conceptually that was it. Like if you can't convince one, you're not going to be able to convince 100. And if you can't convince 100, you're not going to be able to convince 1,000. If you can't convince 1,000, you're not going to be able to convince 10,000 or 100,000, and then ultimately 1,000,000. You know what I mean? So Tony Hsieh, go off Bezos for a minute. And this is something I'm going to talk about on an upcoming video. There you go, YouTube drop. But like Tony Hsieh wanted to, his goal, he wanted to create world peace. Tony Hsieh owns Zappos, may rest in peace, poor bugger. Passed away a few years ago, and we put him on the front page of the magazine. A very, very, a troubled individual, but also a genius. And then, so his goal was to create 1 minute of world peace, right? Because he realized the task at hand was way too big. So what he was going to do is try to create 1 minute of world peace. And sometimes I hear something that kind of just takes my breath away a little bit. And that takes my breath away a little bit, in that not just the intelligence of it, not the world peace thing, which I think very noble pursuit. That's not what I'm getting at. Oh, that would be great, and that would take my breath away in a different way. It's not what I'm saying here. What took my breath away is the intelligence of that. Let's call it that frame, right? Like, you want to create world peace, and then you're going to create 1 minute of world peace, and then what do you think would have happened? Next year, it would have become 2 minutes of world peace. And then it would have ultimately got to 1 hour of world peace if you were being successful, right? And then that's how you create world peace. So you got to sell. So your client that's going to try identify a problem, solve the problem, and create a product or a service around it, go do it for one person. We see that, road dog, in the internet marketing world. Just so many people doing they just go to the masses instead of go to one, solve the problem, make it right, and then go to 10, and then move towards 25, 50, 100, etc. Anyways, I think that there's real value and magic in that. Maybe a coach like Road Dog. If Jeff Bezos were a business coach, I said this a while ago, and I believe it more to be true today. Like, when I said it, I think I was kind of off the cuff, and I absolutely think I'm right in that. If Bezos was a business coach, what he would do, he'd be high end, right? And let's use $5,000 a month, 60 grand a year is like high end. Of course, there's significantly more expensive coaches than that, right? I know that, that, but let's just be, you might be charging 1,000 a month, so 10 grand a month is hard for you to get your head around, right? That's why I'm going to use 5 grand, 60 grand. That's going to be Bezos. What he would do is he would scale the pricing, because he would know that ultimately he wanted to deliver and have you totally addicted to him. So what he would do is he would charge 1,000 month 1, 2,000 month 2, 3,000 month 3, then 4,000, then 5,000 a month. He would scale his pricing, so he would get a $60,000 client, but he would only need a $1,000 credit card approval to get going, if that makes sense. And I think that he would do it that way, and then he would capture, market share. Be so much easier for him to get the 10, 15, 20 clients and really be crushing it. And do the math. If you had 10 clients at 60 grand, I have proven in my YouTube videos that I'm very bad at math because I've messed it up a few times, but whatever. Let's use my fact that I'm out of breath most of the time as my excuse. But that's a cool 600 grand, and we'll assume with 10 clients, you can handle that mostly on your own. So you're dealing with some serious high margins that would rhyme with 80%. So I'll let you decide if that would be a good number. So I think that he would do that, and he just okay, why? Because he's completely obsessed with long-term. He proved over many years that he was obsessed with long-term cash flow. That's what he was looking for, and market share. But he was not about, literally didn't profit for, the unbelievable period of time. And that's why everybody was like, these guys are a joke, right? Amazon, that's scam. That's where it came from. Anyway, so there you go, Road Dog. I think that's there's more, but Road Dog Bezos. There you go, Road Dog. I just messed you and Bezos.
I love that you're basically putting me in the same bucket. That's
yeah,
really
nice.
good.
Very good. This is a
far more handsome he is. But anywho, hey, just real quick, because I know we're kind of going along a bit here today, and just to respect the length of the podcast here, but so with the scaling thing, so if you're bringing on coaching clients, not coaches, but coaching clients.
Yep.
You're good with that. You're good with the tiering up and
yep.
And sort of willing to give up more of your time than the dollars collected initially. Again, because this is what's interesting to me is over the past while we've demonstrated and talked about two very contradictory models, right? Because there's the Musk model, which is charge the high end price up front, then to basically get to a point where you can then afford to go lower.
Nice.
Right. And now we're going the opposite way. So I guess what we're ultimately saying is, look, both work as long as, I guess, the old cliche, as long as you do. But what are your thoughts on that? Because these are polar opposites.
Literally read my mind like that second. I was a little bit literally we talked about that. So remember what I said though, but if Bezos was a business coach, this is the approach, because Musk wasn't looking Like when he was getting going, he was looking for proof of concept. So the difference is that Gates would charge, like, look, forget what did, or sorry, Gates, what did Musk do when he started the Tesla and he sold $150,000 little convertible sports car, right? It looked a lot like a Lotus. In fact, when he brought it out, I had a Lotus Elise and it actually looked just like a Lotus Elise, right? And he was charging $150,000. Can't remember the name of it, but people, and it was electric, and that was its big thing. It was cool looking, but that's not why people bought it. They bought it because it was electric and it went so damn fast, it'd blow your mind, right? So with the way that Musk does it is he basically charged 150 grand, sold X amount of them, used that money to basically invest in a way to create $100,000 car, and then he created an $80,000 model, and now now he has a 60. There's a 60 and maybe even a $40,000 Tesla. And what they did is the exact opposite. But understand, it's completely Bezos. That is not the way he built Amazon, and he did it in such, like, he was market share and recurring cash flow. So I just know, Road Dog, that does the chiropractor have $5,000 a month? And is the average business coach going to be able to convince the chiropractor to spend $5,000 a month and whip out a credit card? We both know the answer to that, right?
Yeah. So would you then say, okay, your pricing model would be in distinct correlation to the niche that you're after?
Yes and no.
Because if you go to a high-end market, do not say, like, if you went to a high-end market and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, it's $200 a month, they'd be like, what?
Yep.
Like,
so the question, Road Dog, see, the right question to ask is not what do we do, but the right question to ask is what do we want? So the coach that we're talking to, is he 65, semi-retired, and really only wants to have 10, 12, 13 clients, and that's it? That's different, right? Whereas we've got a guy who's 40 years old, wants to build a monster, has built a seven-figure coaching, built seven-figure businesses in the past. That number doesn't scare him. And he's going to go and he is going to hire the staff. He is going to put coaches underneath him. You know what I mean? Like he's going to go a little bit more aggressively than two different approaches might fly. And by the way, I would also be weighing up like the person's sales ability. The truth is that coaching, which factors into it, if you can coach, you can't sell. And if you can sell, you can't coach. And I just know the average analytical, excellent coach tends to suck at selling. So thinking that they're going to be able to close $60,000 coaching clients with consistency for people that's 60 grand, if you go into Microsoft and sell a $60,000 program, it's nothing. When you go into the dentist's office and you're hitting them with a $60,000 program before proof of concept, that's hard for them to swallow, right? So it's two very different approaches, and insanely good point. And the question is, before you decide which one you're going to do, you go, what do I want? And what most will tell us, Road Dog, is they want to make 250 grand a year without being a slave to the company, to the phone, to the internet, to the location. And they could legitimately be in Mexico on the beach, work until noon, hang out for the rest of the day, and have a kick-ass lifestyle. And the Bezos model could work really, really well doing that. But look, there's argument for both. And yeah, their level of experience and whatnot all gets factored in. It's two different approaches, bud. So,
Ryan, that's the beauty here, right? But again, like real quick, my only rabbit hole here is one of the hardest questions that you can ever possibly ask yourself is, what do I want? Yep. And you got to ask yourself that across the board. Like, dude, I just had a guy in one of my men's groups, and he was talking about asking me, because I've got 2 decades worth of experience in financial services, about creating a personal budget and financial plan. And I said, well, what do you want? Like, what's the lifestyle that you want? Like, you can't possibly think about creating a budget and without asking your wife, your children, like, what kind of a life do you want for yourself and for your family? Like, I just don't understand that. It's the same sort of deal in business coaching. You want to build a business, great. Well, what does that look like? Right? You got to look beyond and go, okay, well, what what is the business that I want to build for myself? How many clients would I ideally like to serve? And how much money do I want to be making? And then that might actually go a long way in terms of which model do I need to create and which one do I want to follow? Am I more the Elon Musk type, or am I more the Jeff Bezos? And at the same time, what's the niche? What's the problem? Again, great question you brought up earlier. What's the problem that you're solving? Because otherwise, if you're not solving somebody's problem, you sound like everybody else. And that's a huge problem. So,
Guys,
anyways,
I just want to make sure that everybody picked up what Road Dog just put down. Like, again, this is, from a place of wisdom, working with, tons of clients and, dynamics and different personalities and different, different goals would be an understatement. Like every individual has their own, not only own set of goals, like not only their own set of goals, right, but their own, what am I trying to say? Like their own world, right? Like one guy's got 3 kids under, the age of 10, and then the other one's an empty nester. Like it's just a very different. So the guy put it out there to Road Dog, and Road Dog said, whoa, 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 I can't give you that answer until you tell me this. What do you want? And then he also said something really important. He said, one of the hardest things you can do, they can do, Road Dog can do, I can do, our wives can do, our kids for that matter, right? Is like explain. Actually, my daughter knows exactly what she wants because she keeps telling me. But anyways, but what do you want? You know what I mean? Like when you ask somebody what they want, what do? They start prattling off what they don't want, right?
Yep.
So anyways, that's pretty powerful in my opinion, folks. Hopefully you picked that up. There you go.
Well, you know what I want right now? I want you to share with me the one thing that they can take from this episode and implement into their business right away. That's what I want, Karl.
Shoots. It's got to be the Zappos Tony Hsieh. Again, he wanted world peace. He wanted to create world peace, and that's what he wanted to undertake. And he wanted to create 1 minute of world peace. So if you're looking for, you want to make 100 grand, you want to make 250 grand, you want to make 500 grand with your business, your client wants to do similar. But let's talk about you. Look, I want you to come up with one. You're going to go to networking functions. You are going to follow a set specific process. You are going to get one coaching client at $2,000 a month, going to networking functions, delivering that exact process, and then fulfilling on it. And then it's time to start talking about going to get 3, and then going towards 10, etc. But and I use networking. Is that the best place to go? No. Also go. We've talked about this, right? Like Road Dog and I, like the local BNI group or the local networking group. That probably, well, it's not probably where we're not going to go. That's where we're not going to go. Because that's not to be, but that might be the right place for you. But that's the sandbox, right? Understand that you're going to get clients at the networking functions that probably are going to quit in 90 days. Why? Because they're not the highest caliber of clients. How do we know that? Because they wouldn't be at BNI with the name badge on their chest if they were high end. And that might sound brutal. That might be harsh. That might be untrue at your local BNI because the guy who runs it's done a bang up job and he's created a really like a 7-figure group and these guys are heavyweights. Okay, perfect. That's a group that Road Dog and I would go to, right? But we're not, generally speaking, I think you'd battle mightily to find me that room. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? It's the golf club, it's the yacht club, it's the oil and gas club. Those type. There's so many different groups out there. We talk about this on the pod, like where when you go to a charity event, okay, do you know who's going to be there? Rich people. Okay, now that one you can take to the bank, and can not just rich people but connected people. Okay, they're very charitable. Like, so go to that event and find a way to, if you don't, if you can't, don't, you know what I mean? I don't know. Find a way to do some work, do some sweat equity, help them organize it. Hopefully maybe, whip out your credit card and, ding a few bucks down for a cause that you believe in, that you can really get behind, that makes sense. And one that again, some of those charities, I can't say this without saying, following it with this, some of those things, like they collect $100,000 and 80 grand goes into their pockets, right? Because of all the amazing work that they're doing, and 20 grand of it is, and 20% of it is going to the actual cause. So don't give your money to that group. But anyway, so do a little bit of homework. So yeah, what did I say, Road Dog? Just find one way. If you're going to pick up the phone, if you're going to do joint ventures, if you're going to partner with an accountant, just remember, when I go to the accountant, I wouldn't try get them to send me 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 clients. I would say, Mr. Accountant, take me for a test drive. Give me one client. Let's see how good I am. Maybe I'm the best thing that ever happened, and maybe I'm full of poo-poo. Hey, give me a shot and get one client that way, and then you're going to know. Then you can move towards another and another. That's the way you get to 10. You don't make $250,000 a year net with your coaching company by deciding you want to make $250,000 a year net in your coaching company. You do it by solving problems and being a kick butt coach, and having other people saying good things about you and that kind of thing. So that's all I got. There you go. So Ray Dog, that's my one thing.
You and I both know that is far from the truth. That is not all you got. Listen, what can we agree on this? Can we agree on if you're gonna for we're talking about all the power of one here, basically, right? How about you just ask yourself, what's one problem that I can solve? Right?
Say that again. Hear that? Say that again.
What's one problem that I can solve?
Yeah.
But I just think, and again, if you're going to go to these networking events and you're going to do all these things, please don't be the guy that's going to be that pushy, annoying, douchey sales guy. Like, nobody likes that guy. Just genuinely want to help and watch what happens. Like, yes. It's just that blows my freaking mind every single time. Yeah. And it's just like when I see all these sales trainers and everything else, you know why you need to push so hard in sales? It's because they're not buying the fact that you genuinely and sincerely want to help them, and they're just not buying it. So you need to use some sort of tactics to almost force them to do it. And I hate that. So that's my Alex Hermosi and me, where I'm like, the reason you got to sell so hard is because you don't have a great offer, and you don't have a great offer because you don't know what problems you're solving. So.
Boom.
On that note, hey, and by the way, on your pitch of take me for a test drive, folks, take Karl for a test ride on his brand new YouTube video series. There it is. How's that for a segue, folks?
You're getting good. You radio shoots.
I have just great visions of me coming down to see you on that double bike, riding the beach together. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful series. Like, I can't even imagine how gold that episode's going to be. But anyway, until that happens, folks, we want to thank you for tuning into another episode of Business Coaching Secrets, the podcast, with none other than the man himself, the king of the Caribbean, the king of the soon to be the YouTube king, Karl Bryan, folks. And if you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or again, you want access to that 4-day, what is it now? The accounting program. You just want more information on all that stuff, go to focus.com and subscribe today, and you'll definitely get all that. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share it and please rate it, as we know that is massive with all of these streaming services. And that is it for another week. We're got to wrap it up here because we are way, 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 way long. So remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.